Hey everybody, welcome to A Notch Higher Living, a YouTube channel. I am coming back to you for the final week. I was gone last week. I'll tell you the story in a minute. We're going to get into the last chapter, or the last corner, for The Power of the Other book. The book is written by Dr. Henry Cloud. This channel is to help people create a space, or I developed it because my mission in life is to create and cultivate spaces where healthy relationships skills can be learned, developed, practice, and then ultimately thrive. I realized that I hadn't said that correctly, but it's to create and cultivate spaces. That means I'm not pretending to be the expert. What I am doing is on a mission to always be cultivating and defining spaces, no matter where I am, for people to be able to learn and for myself to have healthy relationship skills. So this is a channel where I have been reviewing a book. What I'm going to do today is go on the last chapter, or the last connection from the 4 points that Dr. Henry Cloud talked about. And it's called The Power of the Other. That's the name of the book. We've already gone through connection 1. It is disconnected or no connection. You can check all of these out in the previous videos. Number 2 is the bad connection. Number 3 is the pseudo good connection, and then number 4, that's where we are today. It's the true connection. So let's jump right into it. Again, this is The Power of the Other by Dr. Henry Cloud. And if you go to page 52 in the book, if you have the book, if you don't, this is where I'm reading from. So the corner that Dr. Cloud talks about, where we all want to be, where we all want to head towards, or we all want to live in our lives, is the true connection. And what the true connection is, on page 52, I'm going to read it so that you know I'm not coming up with my own definitions, but it really stood out to me really well. So it's called The Real Thing. In the simplest terms, a real connection is one in which you can be your whole self, the real, authentic you. A relationship to which you can bring your heart, mind, soul, and passion. Both parties to the relationship wholly present, known, understood, and mutually invested. With each, what each truly thinks, feels, believes, feels, and needs can be shared safely. I'm going to read that again. What each truly thinks, feels, believes, fears, and needs can be shared safely. On the best teams, in business or in war, this is what happens. This is exactly what happens. And in the best lives, no matter where you are or what obstacles you may be facing, you need your connections in order to win. They help you figure out where you are, where you need to go. They help you figure out where the real enemies are, and they give you the reinforcements you need to win. And that's what it means when someone says that they have your back. So there are, in the corner that comes from corner 4, there are 3 questions that stem from it. Where am I? Where is the enemy? And where is my buddy? And the author goes on to say, no matter what the answers are to questions 1 and 2, where am I? Where is the enemy? The way out of difficulty is going to come from having the answer to question 3. Where is my buddy? If you are lost, you can connect with your buddy and find your way. If the enemy is about to get you and you're surrounded with no way out, you can call for reinforcement and your buddy will take the enemy out. If you can't find your buddy, you're in some deep stuff. You might not make it out at all. Everything ultimately hinges on each other. So in corner 4, the author is really talking about real, true, and genuine connections. So many times we're around people that we aren't really genuinely connected to, or they're not genuinely connected with us. I believe one reason is that if we don't really truly know ourselves, I'll use myself for an example. If I don't really truly know myself, and I've been in this place and I've been in this corner for my life, I was okay with pseudo connections, because instead of having nothing, I would rather have some type of connection. So with that type of connection for myself, I wasn't showing up to the table fully, and because I wasn't doing that, I wasn't known by someone and I wasn't getting to know the other person. So in that pseudo connection, my genuine feelings and needs and wants could not be heard by the other person. I wasn't articulating them. And then vice versa, the other person, they really didn't have a platform or a space with me to do that, because I was playing sort of like the chameleon, being what I needed to be for them so that I can have some type of connection. This genuine connection, the real thing, I believe it's something that can be attained. What I'm learning as I have looked at all of the other connections, when I have been in each connection at a different point in time of my life, the connection for true connection, it takes courage. It takes practice. That's one thing, again, the reason why I'm posting these videos is that one thing that I am determined to do is learn how to be connected with others genuinely. And what that means for me is that I'm learning how to be my true self. With that being said, I can come into any relationship, friendship or otherwise, romantic, family relationship, in a dynamic that is showing up truly to the relationship. Whether or not the person on the other end of the relationship is showing up or not, I can navigate the space in a better way, because I'm able to relate to the person in the best way that I know how, and in the best way that I can give to them. I believe all relationships, I don't believe that all relationships have to be so deep and so, well, it can't really be. You can't really know 100 people intimately. I mean, like, all at the same time. Real connections take time. So the one thing that I liked about Corner 4 is that it let me know that it's something that when I bring my whole self, that's a part that I have to bring to the table. So sometimes in relationships, people say, well, that's great if I had that type of relationship. So the one thing that gave me hope for Corner 4, or moving to a Corner 4 relationship, is the controllable that I have, and that is to know my whole self. Because in order to bring my whole self to the relationship, I have to know myself for the relationship, my relationship, so I can articulate that to someone else. So the way that I have learned this is that there have been relationships in my life that they fell off the friendship grid. And when I looked at it and reflected, I realized that I wasn't the person that was genuine in the relationship. In relationship and even dating relationships, I realized sometimes that I was willing to not have a preference or not have my voice so that I can stay in the relationship. When my genuine self, I remember one time there was a gentleman, I went to his house and we went out, and when I looked at his house, I should have just walked out then. It should have been and this is not a judgmental type of thing at all, but literally it was like, I don't live like this, so I mean, if this is how you live, I don't think it's gonna work. No judgment, literally no judgment. This was more of I'll just say it, filth, as opposed to not tidy. I can do not tidy, but I know now I can't do filth, and it was filth. No judgment, like, this is a fact. It was filthy, and it was not good. But I remember it was just like, I am going to be honest, and yes, I even tried to help and clean the place. Because internally I was just like, well, I can be the helper. I can help. I say that, and for some people that may say, well, what does that have to do about bringing your whole self? What it has to do is that I wasn't forthright with him just to speak it out or ask questions to say, is this typical of how your place usually is? Or did something happen? To be honest, because if it was typical, I could have had a conversation and no judgment, but just, understood internally, or have an understanding that, no, this is how things are. But I didn't do that. What I attempted to do was to move past who I really was and pretend. And I am a helper and I like to help people. But in that case, I really wasn't helping him. I was really attempting to do what I needed and didn't articulate. And I know that may seem like a really crazy example, but again, as I'm practicing now of bringing my whole self into the relationship, one thing that I am really learning, and it's been really interesting to see, there are some relationships where I don't really have to say anything. I can observe and I can make the decision internally how I will show up. For example, if I don't particularly like something, or I don't want to go somewhere where I used to be and not being genuine, is to show up anyway. Because to show up in my pseudo connection number 3, at least I was around people. Now in my genuine self, I'm okay with being okay with being only with me. I'm not saying that I don't like other people, because I do love people. But if there was the option to have a pseudo connection for me internally now, as I bring my whole self, a pseudo connection and being by myself and being in solitude, I would choose the solitude. Not because I don't love people, and not because I do not want connection, but now I'm at a point where I would rather be alone and in solitude and enjoying myself versus being in a connection that's a pseudo connection simply for the connection's sake. So I hope that makes sense, in that, and excuse me, this shirt has been acting really crazy today, so this won't be edited out either. So my connection, the last example that I have, is going to be a funny one, but it's a real life one, where I am recording on my phone right now, and I needed to get an upgrade because my phone, no matter how much I kept it in the charger, the battery would die. So that is connection number 1. No connection. So if I were to power my phone on, it would not power on. It just didn't spit out anything. Disconnected and no connection is corner number 1. I have a great phone, or a great brand of phone, but no communication is going on because I do not have a true connection with a power source, and the phone is acting shady. So I'm going to go to connection number 2. Connection number 2 is a bad connection. So I did have times where I was on the phone with a good friend of mine, and the phone would just cut off. I would do something like use my camera to take a picture to show her. The phone would just cut off. It would take me a minute to cut back on. No matter what I did, I couldn't cut it on until the battery felt like it needed enough juice. So that's corner number 2, the bad connection. The bad connection, the phone wasn't doing it for me, but a bad connection really doesn't want you to succeed. It doesn't want you to move forward to be your best self. The phone technically did not want me to talk on the phone. So that was a bad connection. And then corner number 3 for my cell phone, it's the pseudo connection. With the pseudo connection, what it is that my phone looked like it was about to cut on, and then it didn't. So I had a connection, or seeming like I had a connection, but it really wasn't a real connection. I remember I was at work a couple of days and I just couldn't talk to anyone. So it seemed like the phone was powered on, or the phone would just power on I guess, when it had enough juice. So that really wasn't a good connection. Yes, I'm connected, but to what extent? When are you going to cut off on me? It wasn't reliable. It wasn't stable. So that's corner number 3. So now I'm in corner number 4. I have a new phone. I do not have it plugged into the power source because guess what? The phone is bringing its full genuine self. There's nothing wrong with this battery. There is nothing wrong with this camera. The phone is okay. So that's my funny example of having the 4 connections. But in life, I can honestly say that I am practicing to be in corner number 4 with the people who choose to be in corner number 4 with me. That's the part that's really important to note. You can't make someone be in a relationship with you if they don't want to be in. And you can't make the person be in a relationship in the way that you want it. If you go back to the one video that I made, Relational Intelligence, the author talks about the 4 types of people that you have, and we have to be aware of what type of person they are in our lives. There's one last part that I want to read from the book before we go off today. And that is on page 68. They're talking about people in corner number 4. So the real superstars are the ones with enormous talent and brains. And this is talking about a person at work who realize that they don't have all that it takes to get big things done, but that everything they need to get them done does exist, and that's in others. So they ask, they embrace their need, and they connect from an authentic, vulnerable place. They grow, they learn, and they thrive. So let's be one of those people. No matter who you are, humble yourself, and let's head on to corner 4 so that we can show up in a real way, in a healthy way, and we can have thriving relationships. So again, this is a channel where I offer a book suggestion that helps with the learning part of creating a space and cultivating a space where we can learn. I'm going to get more into the practice piece, and cultivating this space is really giving you the content every time that I can. But I really want to get to COVID-19 has been a little bit different for some things. So I want to practice with people, but I'll have to see how that goes. But again, if you want to have healthy relationships, relationship skills, the book, The Power of the Other by Dr. Henry Cloud is a phenomenal resource. And if you want to go check it out, you can go on his website or check it out on Amazon or any place where books are sold. Again, my name is Jasmine, and a Notch Higher Living YouTube channel. I'm here to help create and cultivate a space where healthy relationship skills can be developed, that we learned, developed, practice, and ultimately thrive. So be the best you that you can be, and have a great one. Thanks. Until next time.